Max had never considered himself a hero. He was just an ordinary golden retriever with a penchant for chasing tennis balls and sneaking onto the forbidden couch when his owner, Tom, wasn't looking. Their routine was comfortable and predictable: morning walks around the neighborhood, Tom leaving for his job at the local fire station, and Max guarding the house until his return. That Tuesday began like any other. Tom had left for his 24-hour shift, ruffling Max's fur before departing. "Be good, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow." Max spent the day as usual, napping in patches of sunlight that moved across the living room floor, occasionally barking at the mail carrier, and waiting patiently by the window as afternoon faded into evening. When night fell, he curled up on the rug beside Tom's bed, the familiar scent of his owner lulling him to sleep. The smell of smoke woke him. At first, it was faint, easily dismissed as something from the neighbor's barbecue or a distant bonfire. But within minutes, the acrid scent grew stronger, invading Max's sensitive nostrils and sending a primal fear coursing through his body. He paced nervously, whining as smoke began to seep under the bedroom door. When he nudged it open with his nose, he was met with a wall of thick, gray clouds billowing through the hallway. The heat was intense, and somewhere in the distance, he heard the crackle of flames devouring wood and fabric. Max retreated to the bedroom, pawing at the window until it slid open. Without hesitation, he leaped out onto the soft grass below and raced around to the front of the house. The scene was chaos. Neighbors in bathrobes and pajamas had gathered on the street, pointing and shouting. Red and blue lights from emergency vehicles flashed against the night sky, and firefighters were unrolling hoses and shouting commands. That's when Max heard it, Tom's voice, calling from inside the burning house. "Help! Anyone! I'm trapped in here." Max's ears perked up. Tom wasn't at work, he was inside. His shift must have ended early, and he had returned home only to be caught in the blaze. Without a moment's hesitation, Max bolted toward the front door, which hung open as smoke poured out. A neighbor spotted him and lunged to grab his collar. "No, boy. Stop." Max dodged the attempt, driven by a single thought: Tom was in danger. Another neighbor tried to block his path. "Someone stop that dog." A firefighter reached for him, but Max was too quick, weaving between legs and equipment with the agility born of desperation. "The dog's going in. Stop him." Max could hear the shouts behind him, feel hands grasping at his fur, but nothing would deter him. The heat grew more intense as he approached the door, the smoke burning his eyes and lungs. Yet all he could focus on was Tom's voice, growing weaker with each call for help. With a final burst of speed, Max slipped past the last firefighter attempting to block his path and disappeared into the burning house, the flames illuminating his golden coat for just a moment before he vanished into the smoke. Inside the house, Max's world transformed into a hellscape of heat and darkness. The familiar home he knew, with its comfortable corners and familiar scents, had become an alien landscape. Thick smoke obscured his vision, forcing him to rely on his other senses. The floor beneath his paws radiated intense heat, and embers floated through the air like malevolent fireflies. "Tom!" Max barked, though to human ears it was just a desperate sound. He navigated by memory, keeping low where the air was slightly clearer, his nose working desperately to filter through the acrid smoke for any trace of his owner's scent. A thunderous crash echoed through the house as part of the ceiling collapsed in the kitchen. Max flinched but pressed forward, driven by instinct and devotion rather than conscious thought. The living room furniture, once welcoming and familiar, now loomed as dark, burning obstacles. The couch where he'd spent countless afternoons napping beside Tom was engulfed in flames. Max paused, ears pricked, listening intently. Through the roar of the fire, he detected a faint cough coming from the direction of Tom's study at the back of the house. Outside, the firefighters had established a perimeter, directing powerful hoses at the blaze while coordinating their efforts to enter the structure. "Chief, a dog just ran inside," reported one of the firefighters, breathing heavily from his failed attempt to catch Max. "What? Whose dog?" demanded the fire chief, turning from the tactical plans spread across the hood of the command vehicle. "The homeowner's, I think. Golden retriever. Went straight in, nothing could stop him." The chief cursed under his breath. "We've got confirmation the homeowner's inside?" "Yes, sir. Neighbors say he's a firefighter himself, Tom Reeves from Station 12. Off duty today. They heard him calling for help before the dog went in." "One of our own," the chief muttered. "All right, Team Alpha, you're going in. Priority is locating Reeves and that dog. Team Beta, continue defensive operations, focus on preventing spread to adjacent structures." Back inside, Max had reached the hallway leading to the study. The heat was becoming unbearable, scorching his fur and burning his paw pads with each step. A burning beam blocked his path, flames licking hungrily at the ceiling above it. Without hesitation, Max gathered himself and leaped over the obstacle, his tail catching fire as he sailed past. He landed with a yelp of pain but didn't stop, quickly rolling to extinguish the flames on his tail before continuing his desperate search. "Help!" Tom's voice was weaker now, punctuated by harsh coughing. "In the study!" The study door was closed, a thin line of light visible beneath it, not firelight, but the beam of Tom's phone flashlight. Max scratched frantically at the door, barking to let Tom know he was there. Inside, Tom Reeves had retreated to the furthest corner of his study as smoke filled the room. He had awoken to the smell of smoke, only to find his exit already cut off by flames. With the fire blocking his path to the windows and doors, he had taken refuge in the study, stuffing towels beneath the door to buy precious time. The sound of scratching at the door followed by familiar barking cut through his growing despair. "Max? Max, is that you?" Tom called out, his voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. "How did you get back inside?" Tom crawled toward the door, keeping below the thickening layer of smoke. He reached up and turned the handle, pulling it open just enough for Max to squeeze through. The golden retriever burst into the room, frantically licking Tom's face, his entire body quivering with a mixture of fear and relief at finding his owner alive. "Good boy," Tom whispered, hugging Max tightly. "But we're in trouble, buddy. Big trouble." Tom assessed their dire situation with the calm clarity that came from years of firefighting experience. The study had one window, but it was too small for him to fit through. The smoke was growing thicker by the minute, and he could hear the ominous creaking of structural supports beginning to fail throughout the house. "We've got to find another way out, Max," Tom said, tearing a strip from his t-shirt and soaking it with water from a small fish tank in the corner. He tied the damp cloth around his face as a makeshift filter and ripped another piece for Max, gently securing it around the dog's muzzle. Max whined softly but accepted the cloth. His scorched tail and burned paws throbbed with pain, yet his focus remained unwavering: protect Tom. "The back door," Tom whispered hoarsely. "It's our best chance." Tom grabbed a heavy blanket from the small couch in his study and draped it over both of them. With one arm around Max and the other holding his phone as a flashlight, he opened the door. The hallway had become an inferno, with flames climbing the walls and licking at the ceiling. "Stay close, buddy," Tom commanded, crouching low. They moved together beneath the blanket, Tom navigating through the home he knew by heart, now transformed into a deadly maze. Max pressed against his side, providing not just companionship but support as Tom's strength began to wane from smoke inhalation. Outside, the firefighters from Team Alpha had entered through the front door, their thermal imaging equipment scanning for signs of life amid the chaos of heat signatures. "Movement detected," one firefighter called through his radio. "2 heat signatures moving toward the rear of the structure." "Copy that," crackled the response. "Team Beta repositioning to the back entrance." Tom and Max had nearly reached the kitchen when a thunderous crack split the air. Tom looked up just in time to see a massive ceiling beam dislodge and plummet toward them. With his remaining strength, he shoved Max forward and out of danger before the beam crashed down, striking Tom's leg and pinning him to the floor. The blanket caught fire, and Tom desperately flung it away, crying out in pain. Max turned back, barking frantically, unwilling to continue without his owner. "Go, Max!" Tom shouted, his voice breaking. "Go get help." But Max refused to leave. Instead, he grabbed Tom's shirt sleeve between his teeth and pulled with all his might. Tom was much too heavy to move, but Max's determination was unbreakable. He barked loudly, the sound carrying through the roar of the flames, a beacon for the firefighters searching for them. Just as Tom was losing consciousness, the back door burst open. 2 firefighters in full gear charged in, one immediately moving to lift the beam while the other assessed Tom. "We've got you, brother," one of them said, voice muffled through his mask. "Your dog led us right to you." Together, they freed Tom from the beam and lifted him between them. Max followed closely as they carried Tom outside into the cool night air, where paramedics waited with oxygen and medical supplies. As they laid Tom on a stretcher, Max refused to leave his side, placing his paw protectively on Tom's arm. The paramedics worked around the loyal dog, recognizing the bond that couldn't be broken even temporarily. "That's one brave dog," commented the fire chief, watching as Max's burns were treated alongside Tom's more serious injuries. "He saved my life," Tom whispered through his oxygen mask, reaching out to stroke Max's singed fur. He heard me when no one else could. The news crews arrived by morning, capturing footage of Max sitting vigilantly beside Tom's hospital bed, his bandaged tail thumping softly against the floor. Their story spread quickly, the off-duty firefighter saved by his loyal dog who had refused to be stopped by flames or well-meaning neighbors. Weeks later, as they stood before the charred remains of their home, Tom looked down at Max, who had recovered remarkably well from his burns. "We'll rebuild," he promised, kneeling to embrace his four-legged hero. "Because home isn't about the walls or the roof. It's about you and me, buddy. That's what's worth running into a fire for." Max nuzzled against Tom's hand, his eyes reflecting a wisdom and love that transcended words. He didn't need recognition or understanding of his actions. He had simply done what came naturally, followed his heart through fire and darkness to find his way home.